back down. I think that's pretty awesome. Breaks and build-ups. As a beginner producer, those were the two things that I struggled the most with in my arrangements. But believe it or not, there's a certain framework that you can follow to make it a lot more easier for you. By the end of this video, I guarantee that you will not struggle with your arrangements. Let's dive in. So imagine you're in that creative phase of just putting together loops, putting together certain sounds and building your core drum groove. This is what I usually like to start off with. I usually start off with a kick, move on to the hi-hat, and then I would add some percussion or top loop. In this case, this one contains a bit of a shaker groove and some congas. In addition to that, I always like to add textures to make this sound a bit more full and gritty, like this. Then I move on to the toms. Add a bass line. And some chords. That would be my creative phase. I've got together all the elements and the track already feels like a vibe. What now? This is usually the point where I would get so stuck in the loop that I'd just trash the project, which is just so unfortunate. It's an idea. We put so much inspiration and love into it. Why would we want to throw it away at this point? So let's arrange it. The first thing I'm going to do is select the kick that we have here and hit Control-Shift-D. So it duplicates the entire framework here. I'm going to do that a couple times. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure to duplicate your current loop that you have. After 16 bars, we're going to add a locator. So when you see this loudspeaker symbol pop up, you're going to hit right click, add locator, and then we're going to call this break. And the first thing you'd like to do for the break is remove the kick for a total of 16 bars. If you're feeling like it, you can also take it out for 32 bars or maybe just for 8 bars if you want to create a mini break. But in this case, we're going to take it away for 16 bars, rename break. There we go. So this would be the first step, right? Let's see how this sounds. Cool. There's automatically, with this simple tip, already a built-in tension. By removing out the bass, we build tension. Next thing I'd like to do is to add a transition effect right in between these two sections. So right where we have the kick into the phase that we introduced the break, where the kick is gone. And therefore I'm just going to go in this searching panel up here, type in transition, and then we can go into all results and we can see all of our transition sounds that have the label transition inside them. I think in this track I have a transition sound already. I'm just going to grab it from here, copy that, and put it right here. How does this sound? It's good, but I'd like to have it sweep in and sweep out. Very good. And then we're going to take the same transition sound and move it up here. So when we reintroduce the kick after 16 bars, we have another transition sound. So in between those major breakpoints, we're going to add transition sounds. And as a matter of fact, let me again add another locator here, call this one drop, since we're dropping the kick and the bass back in. But it still sounds pretty empty in this section, and there's just not enough going on besides us just taking out the kick. How can we fill out this section to make it feel more interesting? A great thing to do is to emphasize your melodics. So what I would like to do is add in any type of synth sound. You can also take samples. For this case, I prepared a little arpeggio here. And I'm just going to draw in a couple of those little filler sounds in between. Just like that, and perhaps add one here that fades into this break here. Let's see how this sounds. And there's a lot of delay to this sound too, so it fades into each other. Perhaps add some variation. Cool, so the listener's attention is focused more towards the melodies now. Since we are in the scale of D sharp minor, we can select that here and draw in notes that fit to our scale. So let me just place this one, for example, here and create another one here, just paying attention to the notes that are in our D sharp minor scale. Let's give it a play through here. combine that sound with the delay. Pretty great way to fill out your breaks. And for breaks, we usually want to take away the focus from the drums and emphasize the synths or the melodic elements that we have here. So a trick that I like to use is the filter out and filter back in. And as you can see, I grouped all of my drums together here in a drums group. And on this drum group, I'm going to add in a auto filter. You can also take any other filter plugin. Doesn't really matter. It's all about just cutting away those high frequencies and adding them back in. Let me open up this panel here, click frequency and draw a bit of a curve here. Take the drums, filter them out and filter them back in. Let's see how this sounds. Pay attention to the percussion now. Adjust the curve. By hitting Alt, we adjust the curve so it doesn't sound too sudden. And now the percussion comes slowly back in. Hear it? Hi-hat. Cool, and then we can select our lowest point, maybe adjust that a bit here so it doesn't sound too sudden, or adjust the curves like this. Cool. But I still feel like that we have too much bass in the break, too much toms, too many bass grooves. So in order to combat that, we can take away 8 bars of our bass before the drop hits. So we're just going to delete it here, but that usually sounds too sudden. Let me give you a playthrough. And it's just gone. So in order to make that a bit smoother, we can add a low cut automation for the bass line. And as you can see, I've also grouped all of the bass channels into a bass group. Rename this here. And therefore, again, I'm going to add another auto filter. But this time, we're not going to add a high cut. We're going to add a low cut. So we're going to enable this little curve here. And then we're just going to adjust the frequency accordingly. So we're going to take away the low end slightly and add it back in the drop. Add a bit of a curve. Much smoother. Now it feels like a full break. We're getting there. I like it. But I feel like there's not enough tension yet. We need to create that uplifting feeling. How do we get that? Another great way of doing so is by adding cutoff automations. And since we have our chords here, we can just use this synth. Whatever synth you have usually has a cutoff parameter or a way of opening it, a way of reintroducing higher frequencies. Therefore, we're just going to open our synth that we're using. In this case, I'm using Diva. You can just click this cutoff parameter here, and then Able Live automatically opens up a little automation panel. Just going to create 2 automation points, slowly increase the cutoff, and about 1 bar before the drop hits, we want to decrease the cutoff. So we create a tension wave. Let me play that for you. Pay attention to these chords. They're opening up now. Full focus on the chords now, on the melodies. Melodies. Back down. I think that's pretty awesome. Another cool thing that you can do for your drops is actually completely remove the chords or the synths. So this is how it would sound then. Which is also cool. But in my experience, it sounds a bit too sudden. So what I'd like to do to combat this is add a bit of a delay automation. So you can see my Ableton default delay loaded up on the synth channel on the chords. And what I'm going to do is just automate this delay dry wet, just like that. So the chords fade into the drop, and you can see there's quite a lot of feedback here. On default, it's set to about 50%, but in order to make it feedback longer, we're going to set it to 75%. This is how it sounds with the chords now fading out. sounds a bit smoother. Another thing that I really love to add to my breaks is a bit of an ambience, so a background sound like this one. Let's play that together with the rest of the track. So remember, our focus is to emphasize melodies in the break, melodics. Opening up the sound, as you can see here, using the filter. Cool. One last thing I'd like to add to the break in order to give the track a bit more character and give it my unique touch is to add in some more melodies between these little ARP fills, so it feels more like a call and a response. So in this case, I would usually head on to Splice or any other of my favorite platform. You can also use LotusTunes to find cool melodic fills to put between your arpeggios, and I found this one to be really cool. And I changed the pitch for the second one. I pitched it down 5 semitones. Really dreamy, I love that. Now let's play it all together. Thank you everyone. Let me know if I should finish this project file. I might end up adding it to some kind of production suite or another template. Yeah, if you like these sounds, feel free to grab them on my website, LotusTunes, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.